What's going on, guys? PlayBox here. We're back for another Dragon Ball Legends video. Now this video we're going to be doing a special guide on team building. So this guide is going to be focused on how to build teams and like what type of equipments you should be focusing on per character. So it's going to really encompass every aspect of team building in Dragon Ball Legends. This is a video I plan on doing for a while now, and I was holding on to it until the anniversary because I knew during an anniversary, a celebration of this magnitude is going to bring in a lot of new players. So I think this is the perfect time to basically go through all the different aspects of team building and pretty much show you guys how to build a proper team with the proper equipments. And I hope this could be helpful for any new player that happened to join the game during this huge anniversary. So without further ado, let's hop in straight into the guide. So the first thing to keep in mind when building a tag or a team, is to keep track of what tags a character has. So for example, let's go into Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. So if we click on show details here and we scroll down, we can see that this character has 5 different tags. So the Saiyan tag, Super Saiyan 4 tag, Fusion Warrior, GT, and Fusion. So these tags are basically what type of team build you can build. So if you're going for a Saiyan tag, you would have characters that have the Saiyan tag, and so on and so forth. So when you want to build a team, make sure your units all have the same tags. The next thing you want to take a look at is the Z ability. So this is the most important part when building a team. So for example, again, like we're with Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta here, his Z ability at 3 stars is 26% to tag GT or tag Fusion Warrior, base strike, and blast defense. So this is the Z ability is the boost that the character provides to the whole team, and this boost will increase depending on your star count. So prior to hitting 3 stars, it'll be lower. I think it was 22 for Gogeta. At 3 stars, it increases yet again. At 6 stars, it gets its second to last buff, and then finally at 14 stars, the unit will get their final buff for the tag. Sometimes they'll get an extra tag, as you can see in the case of Gogeta. At 6 stars, he gets an additional Saiyan tag buff, so you can start running him on Saiyan builds and at 6 stars. And then at 14 stars, you'll see units such as Super Vegito here that gains an extra health buff once you reach 14 stars. Now, I know most people won't have that, very little people will have that, but having an additional buff to an attribute or a stat is very, very beneficial because he already provides strike, attack, and defense. So an additional stat boost such as max health is really beneficial. So when you're building your team, you would really want to pay attention to the tag, but more importantly, you would want to pay attention to the Z ability. Now, there are some cases where a certain character will not buff the tag, and honestly, with the way teams work nowadays with all these Zenkai units and their monstrous stats, you don't always need to fully have a full roster with everyone buffing each other. It is definitely more beneficial, but you don't need it. For example, in this Saiyan build we have UI Goku at 6 stars that buff Saiyans. We have Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan Namek Goku, and then Super Saiyan 3 Goku, Raditz, and Angel Vegeta. All of them buff the Saiyan tag. So if you take a look at Angel Vegeta right here, he buffs Saiyan's strike, attack, and blast defense. He also buffs Vegeta family. But if we take a look at another unit, Gogeta here, Gogeta only buffs Fusion Warriors at Fusion Warrior strike, attack, and defense. So he doesn't buff the other units. However, he's receiving all the other buffs from every single unit. And this team still works very well because even if one unit is not buffing the other teammates, it's fine because you're still getting 5 buffs. The minimum you want to go is 4 or 5 units providing a buff to the tag. Anything lower than that, you're going to start seeing some drastically lower damage output, defense output. So I recommend not going anything below 4 units buffing the tag, but anything above that is very, very good. And of course, 6 being the most optimal setup. The game has also made it very easy for you to build specific teams. So if you go to the filter option, you can actually pick what tag you want to focus on. So let's say, for example, I want to build a God Key team. So this way, it will filter out all the units and display all the God Key teammate members. Granted, not all these units will have the Z ability. For example, this unit will only buff a specific episode of Resurrected Saga. So there are some units that buff specific sagas. So he doesn't explicitly buff God Key, but he has the God Key tag, so he could be ran along on a God Key setup. So now that we have all the units, we most likely wanna kind of balance it out from strike attack, blast attack, blast defense, strike attack, strike defense. We want to have a balanced mix. However, you want to try and focus on a specific type of offense. For example, you would want to go maybe either full blast or full strike. Having a mixture of both is also okay, but you should also keep in mind what type of cards each units hold. Because, for example, Styzmask, he holds 2 strike cards. That means you'll be putting 2 strike cards in a deck, and that means you'll be getting more strike cards in your hand when in battle. And let's say all your battle members hold 2 strike cards, and some of your units are blast oriented units. You'll be getting more strike cards with these blast units, and they're not going to be doing as much damage because they would rather prefer blast cards. So focusing on a specific type of offense is really, really important. So for example, let's build this God Key team. So I'm also going to be I'll put a link to a tier list and a team tier list made by GamePress that lists all the best teams and all the best units. So you'll know which units to bring into battle, which units to use as buffs, and so on and so forth. Because honestly, some of these units you don't want to be running. So for example, like this Super Saiyan Blue God Vegeta, Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, he's a very old unit, so you wouldn't want to be running him on a modern God Key setup. So if we were to go on today's standards, the best red unit, of course, now is Styzmask, and if you take a look at his tag, he buffs God Key. I believe it is strike, attack, and defense. Yeah, strike, attack, and defense. So we have Styzmask here. The best blue unit would definitely be either Super Saiyan Blue or Vegito. For the sake of this video, we're gonna go with Vegito because he's also strike oriented. The best green option would definitely be Vados for amazing support. One thing to keep note is you want to have a kind of a mixture of not only offenses but defenses as well, because the last thing you want is for your team to be all lacking in defense even though you excel in offense, because if you lack in defense, you're just gonna get one carded by all the units nowadays. So you want to try to have a tanking unit, a supporting unit, and a offensive unit. So as you can see, Vados is a support type, so that's good there. So as our tank unit, you would usually want to run this blue Goku because he's probably their best tank. But you can honestly go with someone like UI Goku, who is not the tankiest, but the use of his unique gauge allows you to kind of play defensively and really helps out when you're trying to stall for timer counts or whatever. However, he is of course a very hard to use unit. So we're gonna put UI Goku there, or you can put in Vegito Blue, the new Vegito Blue, who's more easier to use, and he's also a very good tank. So we'll leave Vegito Blue there as our purple unit, and then we'll slot in Gogeta Blue. And then for your last spot, once you have completed a full color wheel of 5 colors, I would highly recommend your last slot be reserved to a HP buffer. So God Goku is the designated HP buffer for God Key. So 19% max based health and also an extra 20% to critical. So I would always recommend slotting your last unit as a max HP buffer, because I believe that HP buff is probably one of the most important buffs to have. It's very important because it increases, of course, your base health, and being able to take more hits is always a plus, especially in this meta where all the units are hitting so hard. You would want to be extra tankier. So having your last slot as a max HP health buff is very, very important. So now that we have our full team set up, the last and one of the most important parts of building a team is the equips you are going to be using. So let's just remove all these equips real quick. So let's start off with Styzmask. So we know that Styzmask is a melee type, so he prefers strike attack. And we also know that Styzmask is not very good at defenses. He doesn't tank very well, and he has very low defenses. So what you want to try to go for is a mixture of strike attack, some defense, and always try to get at least 1 HP health. If you can't get an HP health because they are pretty scarce, go for your main offenses and some defense. And Some additional attributes would be like stuff like special damage, ultimate damage, like this equip here will give you both of them in the last slot. So that's really good. So you know what, we're gonna put this on Zamasu. So we would want to mainly focus on strike attack. So this equip also is very good. It gives 2 strike attack buffs and strike defense. So this is very good as well. And the last equip, oops, I replaced it, so we'll put that back. And then a last equip, like I said, a health buff would be very beneficial. We got health here and some extra strike defense, which is always good. So that's pretty much how you would want to focus your equips for your units. So I finished up putting all my equips on this God Key team. I kind of moved it around a bit. But if we take a quick look, Vegito, I gave him this equip. Blast attack, special move damage, all very important for Vegito because he's a blast type unit. This one, blast attack as well. If we go to Vegito Blue here, this the LF one, gave him some strike attack because he's a melee type. Some more strike attack, and then finally a HP equip. Like I said, having a mixture of his main offense and HP is very, very beneficial. So I did pretty much all that for all these units. The HP buffer, since most of the time they're not going to be ran in the battle because they're usually not the strongest unit. Most HP buffers nowadays are not the most modern ones because we get very few of them. The only good ones I can remember are like Bergamo and the yellow Broly. But you could pretty much throw in any equips because since you're not going to bring him to battles, you can just boost your ability bonus even higher. So this brings me up to my next point, which is the ability bonus, which is the number you see right at the top right corner of the team. So that number right there basically represents your synergy for your team. So the higher it is, the more synergy there is between your teammates. So if you have a random team that don't buff each other like this one right here, you'll see that the ability bonus is very, very low. Anything below, I would say 2000 is not very good, and you can definitely do better than that. Now that I think about it, maybe anything below 1800, because I know some people don't have the stars to compensate for their synergies. So around 1800 would be pretty good if your units are all 2 to 3 stars. But once you get higher and higher in stars, you would really want something above 2500, which signifies a very, very good team build. So in this case, the God Key team is 2800, so that's pretty damn good. If we take a look at some other teams here, for example, Saiyans, this one has 3500 because this is due to the fact that the Zenkai units have an extra boost to the teammates, which is called a Zenkai ability. So, for example, this LF Super Saiyan 3 Goku, who is a green Saiyan, his Zenkai ability provides an extra buff to all these stats only for green Saiyans. So in this case, he's the only green Saiyan, so he's the only one. Actually, no, him and Raditz are the only 2 green Saiyans. So if we take a look at the details here and we scroll over to Raditz, you'll see he gets all the buffs from every team member, but he also gets a Zenkai boost by Goku. So that having Zenkai units on your team that provide Zenkai ability to other units is also a good way to increase the ability bonus and makes those units that much stronger because they're getting additional stat buff. That's also one of the reasons why Zenkai units are able to kind of mix and match their team compositions, like I said in the beginning, where if you have Zenkai units, you wouldn't need that many units to buff the team, is because they're kind of self-sufficient in the way that they provide themselves with an additional boost to all these stats due to their Zenkai abilities. So that's why I said that having around 4 to 5 units that buff the team is not that much of a deal, especially if you have Zenkais. Obviously, of course, you would always want to try to get 6 units, but if you can get 5 or 4 that buff the team, that is perfectly fine as well. So yeah, that's pretty much all that goes into making a proper team. So if we quickly summarize everything, it would be, first, take note of the tags that each character belongs to. So for example, if you go to Vegito Blue and we scroll down, he has 6 tags here: Future, Potara, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, Saiyan, God Key, and Fusion Warrior. So keep in mind those tags are what type of teams they can fit in on. Next, the most important part is take a look at their Z ability, because this is the buff they're going to be providing to not only themselves but the rest of the team. So this is where you want to mainly focus on, and this is what's going to pretty much drive what type of team you want to build around this unit. So for Vegito, you want to mainly build a team around Fusion Warrior, God Key, or Future, because that's the teams that he buffs. Next, after building your team, is the equipments. So this is also one of the important steps in team building. Make sure you focus on their main offenses. Don't be giving strike attack to a unit that excels in blast damage, and try to focus on their main offenses and their defenses, and being able to add an additional health buff to each of their equips is always a beneficial thing. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and don't forget to subscribe, because that shit is so important, so don't forget. Other than that, have a great day. See ya.